Hi everyone! In this video, we are going to show how TripleseatDirect users can override the default settings for a group and choose different settings based on the specific needs of locations. This includes location-specific settings for event duration limits, lead time limits, deposits, and blackout dates. These overridden settings can be copied to multiple locations within a group. Only customer admins have the ability to change group-wide default settings. Location admins have the ability to copy to any locations that they have access to. To change the default settings at a location level, I will start by going into Settings, and then within the Direct section, select Configuration. On this page, I will see my settings that apply to all locations. New users will first need to configure and save the default settings on this page. Since I am already a TripleseatDirect user and have my settings configured, these will show up here. I can see a location dropdown on the Configure tab that says All Locations Default. On this page, I can see my default settings. Any locations that are using the group level default settings will show this default badge. Any locations that are overriding default settings on the group level will not have a badge. Please note that the billing details section is not available to modify at the location level and will only be displayed on the settings page if all locations is selected in the dropdown. To override these default settings for a specific location, I will first select a location from the dropdown. In this example, I am going to update Lakeview Grill's location settings. I see the Override Defaults checkbox under Event Duration Limits, Lead Time Limits, Deposits, and Blackout Dates. These are all of the settings that can be changed on a location level. The settings in each of these sections will be grayed out and not editable until the checkbox for a given setting is checked off. When this box is checked, the setting will only change for this location. This will be unchecked by default. There is also an option to copy location-specific settings to another location or locations, which I will discuss at the end of this video. The first configuration I can make is event duration limits. My direct settings are set up for a minimum of 2 hours and a maximum of 5 hours. At Lakeview Grill, I have a 3-hour limit for our events. So I will select the checkbox, Override Defaults, and then change the maximum time to 3 hours. In this case, saving these event durations will allow guests to book events between 2 and 3 hours long at Lakeview Grill. Next, I can configure lead time limits. Lead time limits are where you indicate how far in advance someone can schedule an event using Direct. This is managed in days. I want to configure these settings so my guests can book on-premise events 6 months in advance instead of a year. So I'll first check off Override Defaults and then change the maximum to 180 days. Saving these lead time limits will allow guests to book events as soon as a week from now or up to 6 months in advance at Lakeview Grill. Next, I can configure the deposit for events based on location. This can be a percentage of the grand total or a flat amount. The lowest deposit you can set is 25%. I do not want to change the deposits for Lakeview Grill, so I will leave this box unchecked and use the default settings. Please note, if the deposit percentage is changed from the default, the Terms and Conditions form will need to be updated separately. That amount will not update automatically in the Terms and Condition form based on changing this deposit setting. The last configuration I can make is blackout dates. I have some dates on my calendar I do not want bookings to take place. Examples include a holiday or one-off days that we will be closed. As a reminder, I already have the blackout dates from our default settings. If I have any additional location-specific blackout dates, I can check the box and choose the dates. Saving these blackout dates will make those dates unavailable for guests to select at Lakeview Grill. If I need to block a specific room or event style from being booked through TripleseatDirect, I want to use a calendar note to do so. Now that I have made all of the changes to settings at Lakeview Grill, I will press Save. The next time I go into Settings and select that location, no badge will show, indicating that an override to the default settings is in place for that location. Any other configurations with the default badge will use the default settings and apply to all locations within my group. For this example, I did not change the deposit, so that configuration will use the default settings and the box is not checked off. I also have the option to copy settings from one location to multiple other locations that I have access to. If I am on all locations default and click Copy To, I will see a list of locations that do not already have defaults applied. If I am on a single location and click Copy To, I will be able to copy to any location. If the location has default settings assigned, it will be overridden. For example, if I want to use these new settings from Lakeview Grill, at Lakeview Restaurant, and Lakeview Portland, I will first make sure to select Lakeview Grill. Then I will click Copy To. I can copy these settings to any locations that I have access to. I will select Lakeview Restaurant and Lakeview Portland from the Copy To dropdown. The settings from Lakeview Grill will be replicated to these new locations. Pressing Save will copy the location-specific settings from Lakeview Grill and apply them to Lakeview Restaurant and Lakeview Portland. When settings are updated for a specific location, the public-facing form for that location will reflect those specific settings. I can adjust these settings at any time moving forward for all locations by selecting the All Locations default from the dropdown, or on an individual location level. Another reminder that only customer admins are able to override the default settings. If I am not a customer admin and I go to the Configure page, I will see this message. I can view the settings, but will not be able to make any changes. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out to the support team, support@TripleSeat.com, or by clicking the Help Question button at the top right corner of any screen in TripleSeat.